morning, all. Hello, Texas Girly Girl. Hello, Libby, Russell, Kathy. Hello, Cirque, Lori, Stan. Hello, Buzz. Oh, wow. Buzz Rocket said, when Jay was talking about praying for you, my 12-year-old daughter said she prays for you for the past year. That is, please thank her for me, please. Flight level, what do you know good? Ready to do that flying? Hello, Mr. Baird. Hello, Squid Lips. Hello, Mary and Tammy and Fred. Hello, JLM, Okie, Bob. Before I forget, want to make certain I stay on top of things today. We have one of our own that is, well, Wolvie Mom. Husband has gone into total organ failure, cancer. Prayers would be appreciated for miraculous healing and or comfort. Both tough time for them. Also, one of my favorites, L8 dog lover, aka Miss Lisa. Happy birthday! Happy birthday! Both from myself and from Roger. Hello, Jabril. Hello, Jojo, baby. Here's another one. Prayers from our friend who's in ICU from a stroke. Miraculous healing. We could use it. Yeah, Jay, there's a lot of news headed this way. It's out in the open at this point. I think it's well out in the open at this point. Hello, Sir Laugh a Lot. Hello, Mr. Moore. Trish, Marty, Dan. Whoa, silver at 3124. Is the war on metals well underway? They're terrified right now, especially after that leak even made Forbes over how the US is planning to reset. Oh, silver 4123. I was like, what in the world? I was like, whoa, okay. Silver at 4123, gold 3650. You had me a little worried. I have not cashed in my bonds. Guys, you'll never have to ask that question. That's a silly one to ask. When I have, you will know it because you'll be at the bank too. I do not have any bonds listed with any flippers, paymasters, or anything else. I just have a handful to take with me when it's time. Metal's on the move again. I don't know if they're going to be able to. I think they've just about run out of rope. Japan's prime minister resigned. There's so much going on. Just buckle up and watch it. It's getting fun. For those that haven't been paying attention, Glenn Beck with a bit of a truth. What do we call them? You can't use the B word anymore. Truth implosion, truth bomb. I mean, can we not say truth bomb? Is that something just not okay anymore? Yeah. All right. Glenn Beck dropped a interesting one on Venezuela and what's at stake. I thought it was interesting. I shared it in chat. Yes, somebody had mentioned the algorithm, or should I say YouTube, is getting tougher and tougher. Folks, my suggestion, if you are one of those that continually, constantly goes to the naughty room, chances are it's really not what you're doing or saying. It's the fact that you're now targeted by YouTube because they don't like what you're doing, where you're going, what you're saying, or some of the other sites you watch. Consider starting a new YouTube account. It's getting to the point of ridiculous rescuing some of you folks out. And 99% of the times you didn't say anything wrong. It's just you are now targeted by YouTube. Make a new account. That's my suggestion for you folks. They're going to play the game, play it with them. When they make the rule book, it's tough to compete. So that's right. Email addresses are infinite. Just make a new one, stop belly whining, and get on with life. They're going to keep doing it. The Rats are losing, Jason, and this is their desperate attempts. Tupelo. I don't know. Wait. All right, I'm starting to get some comments from Rumble now. There they are. Okay. I don't know what was going on that front. The Glenn Beck link again. Somebody would like it again. All right, let's drop it again. Then we need to get to the news. We should have a special guest, Wristflex, joining us along with Andy Scheckman. If you guys aren't familiar, well, I'll just let you. Most of you, I think, are familiar with who Wristflex is at least. She is going to be having Andy on her show now on occasion as well. She's never done a live with him, so I invited her over to just join us this morning. Hopefully, you guys will give her a warm welcome if she makes it. Hopefully, she will make it. You can find her at Wristflex. She does a lot of deep dives. You can look just based on some of her videos: historic monarchy, brotherhood, high level arrests, blood cults, military intel stuff. I mean, you just name it. She really, really Stargate to Antarctica. I mean, she really does a lot of well researched deep dives. So, very much looking forward to having her on. How about a gem of truth? The truth of a gem. Gem of a truth. Sorry, I'm having fun with some of you guys' comments. Jeremy over here, so many great things from Pennsylvania. If you're wondering, Riss is from Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania. Jeremy's from Pennsylvania. Some great things there. Let's see. What are your thoughts being completed by the end month? Doug, I think it's highly possible. Stepfather Dick, 82 today. Let's pull that closer. Do I have any hardcore preppers in the North Carolina area? I got a lot of prepping supplies that I'm not going to really need because it doesn't make any financial sense to move them to Puerto Rico. Oh, I'm glad you caught that one, Miss Kukla. 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how fast their skin is aging, and 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. That sounds like you're not alone. More and more people are noticing visible changes in their skin far earlier than expected. So I use my secret anti-aging weapon. I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with the 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea with no taste or clumps. Be sure to grab a bag of ageless multi-collagen now while it's 51% off only at healthwithmarkz.com. Help take years off the clock by ordering now. You're also guaranteed to get free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping. Once again, that website is healthwithmarkz.com, or it's easier, just hit the link in the description on YouTube and on Rumble. You might have to hit the more button if you're on a mobile device. Let's see. I did 9/10, not a 9/11. Wait, today is, did I put in the wrong date? Let's see. Yeah, I got 9/10 in for the date. I mean, you guys had me all confused. Like, did I miss it? There are some folks that think 9/11 is the date of a reset. Guys, we don't know the time. We don't know the date. We can just read the leaves and tell you how close we're getting. Let's see. Mark, what do you think about the government of Colorado permanently keeping tax on overtime, and how is that legal? Anakin, we got this crazy thing called states' rights. They can get away with a fair amount. It'll probably get caught in a lawsuit. Once over half the states and the 14th Amendment guarantees that it's going to happen, you got to ask yourself, if you are the governor of Colorado, do you just not want to get reelected? Do you just want to make certain that Colorado, which has been very much leaning blue, goes back red again? You just want to make certain it's purple? That has got to be the dumbest political move I think I have seen in, well, years. Yeah. Colorado governor, just what else? When you got to work harder. I saw a awesome bumper sticker on a work van this week, and it said, "Please don't steal my tools. I need them to pay for your welfare." Thought that one was epic. And I very much draw a differencing line between a social net, meaning disability, meaning retirement. Guys, you paid into that. We pay into that out of our payroll. I am not talking about that when I beat on welfare. I don't consider that actual welfare. Consider that your dues for what you have paid and put in the system. It's your money. You're just getting it back. What else does Iraq need? Good question. Let's talk about it. It is time to get on it because we will have Andy. I am going to try to keep my news a little reined in for that reason. We're going to start here. Electricity in Iraq is cut off, or will it reach stability? It's going to reach stability. This one just dives into the many changes they've made, the improvements, and they are looking to have a first world-class electrical system and stable by 2027. Which means they have made enormous progress. I do have contacts there that work in that industry, helping with substations, lines, you name it. They have made enormous progress. Why I'm pointing these out, these are part of the reforms so that they could reset, change currencies, etc., lift their currency. They've talked about these in the past. And I just love watching that methodical progress. Also, something to note, way back when, 20 plus years ago, or right around 20 years ago now, actually a little more than 20 years ago, I was told that the plan for this entire reset was about a 100-year plan, meaning that's how they look at it financially and how long they believe that the asset-backed monetary system will last. But the Iraqi portion to pay was based on a 50-year return on dollars. So oil. So when you think of it, can they pay for it right now? I've always been told that it would be paid for over about a 50-year period. So when I see these long-term moves, I understand what they are meant to do to bring that stability so that they can pay for that change in their value. Iraq to double its LNG exports to global markets. Another one, huge untapped, where they've been flaring it. This is a massive increase in revenue for the country and also for the environment. Instead of flaring it off, it will be burnt. And it burns, 99 point something percent efficiently and clean. So these, to me, are very positive ones. From the bond side, exceptionally quiet. Not unusual. My first bond contact I was expecting to hear from this week was going to be either late Tuesday or Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I'm not going to panic. I'm going to play wait and see what we hear. Uncertainty grows in Iraq over who will replace U.S. troops after withdrawal from key bases. I'm not really overly worried about who's going to replace them as much as I'm worried about them leaving. Or I shouldn't even say worried. I'm static that they're leaving because we were told we get paid when we would leave when we got paid, and they're leaving. So I do believe there is much to watch. And gold again. This will play in well to Andy joining us in just a little bit. Gold continues to record new highs in the global market. They want us to know what it is doing for their gold reserves, but also for individuals. Iraqi citizens are holding physical gold. Turkish citizens are holding physical gold. The global South citizens hold as much gold as they can in precious metals because they don't trust numbers. They also get into here about the U.S. possibly revaluing gold is a conversation, especially after this one. We talked about it last night. Of course, we had the video from the Economic Times with the comments being made as the Putin aid drops a shocker in America's $35 trillion debt, that the plan is write it off, devalue the U.S. dollar, use crypto/stable coins to move dollars and back it with gold. Just right there in the open. Everything we've been talking about with our reset. And Forbes now reporting it as well. Rewrite the rules. 37 trillion U.S. debt sparks wild crypto and gold reset theories. Bitcoin price soars. I sent the information last night to Andy. I could not resist because he has been telling us, he has been showing us, Zester has been showing us that this is the plan. And here we have it coming straight out of Russia. Somebody else has figured out what we've been screaming. So absolute huge kudos to Andy and Zester. They caught this long before. Two different pieces of it. Caught it long before the big boys did and the economists did. U.S. conspiring to dump the debt. We shared that last night. That is going to be a Topic for today, once we get Andy on, another one that we're going to talk about with Andy is the setting up of the fall. Bloomberg chief economist stunning emission job revisions confirm the recession started in April 2024. So we'll get into some of the fundamental issues right now in the economy once we have them on. DOJ announces federal charges against a suspect in a fatal stabbing of Ukrainian woman. Probably going to upset a few folks this morning. I would think Zester's doing a show. I think he has recovered enough. He had a bad sprain on an ankle and was having a tough time getting around, but I think he's mobile enough that he'll be doing his today. Yeah, I think the Russian government's watching the show. I'm pretty certain they are. On a tougher one to handle, DOJ announces the federal charges. Because it was a crime on mass transportation, when are we going to have the very difficult or not? It's really not a difficult conversation to have. It's just one that needs to be had. Are we going to talk about the other passengers that just got up, looked, and walked away, offering no help? Are we going to talk about the ones that did try to help? They were just too late after losing precious minutes trying to help this young lady. Are we going to talk about how the gentleman jumped up, stabbed her from behind, and reportedly said, "I got the white bitch," or "I got the white girl"? I'm not certain which. And guys, the profanity is meant to be there because it was what was used, or it was reported to be used. That is a racial hate crime. Can we not talk about that? Are we only going to talk about, oh my God, the scare? Now people are going to be afraid to ride the train. Are we not going to talk about the insane level of hate being sown by predominantly one side, not totally one side, but predominantly one side of the political aisle right now, whipping up folks to think that this is acceptable behavior, that they're somehow a hero? That is racial. That would just be like a Klan member from the Democratic Party years ago dragging a somebody behind their car in Texas. It's horrendous. It's racist. And this, if the reports are correct, are absolutely racist. Why are they not talking about that? We need to talk about these things. If we're ever going to get through them and past them, we have to talk about them. The longer this story goes on, and it's going to go on, the more upset I get over it. It is absolutely horrendous. And why can we not talk about it? YouTube censors headline USA footage. It's another one. That footage gets removed, but other racial crimes don't. I guess it's whenever it fits their narrative. I guess they're not going to report it because it was a racist crime against a white girl, a Ukrainian girl, fleeing, spent much of her last few years living in bomb shelters before she could get here for safety. Now let's bounce over to NATO. NATO scrambles jets as Russian drones allegedly enter Poland's airspace overnight. This is going to be a back and forth as everybody tests each other's capabilities, but it also is a little troublesome that it appears we are moving assets into Poland. Is it a staging ground? And when I say this, go back to the reset. There are many, many governments around the world that need a world war. They need a wartime economy to hide their sins. They need it to be able to reset and not have to admit to their sins. When I say their sins, the overspending, the craziest, the globalists, where did the money go? Who took the money? The corruption, the fiat world. They need to cover it. And that very much worries me. Do I think that this administration is trying to position us to keep us out of most of that or all of it if they can? I do. I think it's a controlled demolition that they are attempting. They're fighting some really nasty, entrenched. Yeah, I wanted to use the B word there. The BA word, not the BI word. So to me, exceptionally concerning when I see these things because I know how desperate they are. That's somebody had made a comment. Jerry, I just want to talk to Northern. I'd suggest you start a podcast, Jerry. It'd work great for you. It's a good thing of doing your own. You get to pick the content. Yeah, this day in history, Rumsfeld lost $2.3 trillion. Wasn't it the very next day we had 9/11? Lose $2.3 trillion. Don't know where it's at. Somewhere in the Department of Defense. Don't know. Lana, you did start prepping. In other words, I have a lot of beans and rice and stuff sealed up that I'd love to give somebody. Mary, that's probably why you should stop listening to the AMG group. You would not have to ask if it has gone. Koi's a number of people think it's possibly that this is fake staged or whatever. Guys, depending on the size of the knife, it is not unusual how that played out. Go see a forensics expert. Go see somebody that studied it. I have watched a number of them break it down. I do not think that one was a staged one. You're welcome to your opinion. We all have them. But yeah, depending on where you stab somebody, you may not get the instant spurter. Or anybody that hunts will understand that one as well. We'll definitely understand that one. Here's one that I did like. Trump signs a memo targeting direct consumer pharmaceutical advertising. Yeah, it is. Oh, Jason. I think that's probably the biggest, that we have to question everything we see, news, media, etc. That we have to question it all really is the saddest part of this commentary. Let's see. Trump signs a memo targeting direct consumer pharmaceutical. All those really cool ads about how your life's going to be perfect, how everything's going to be golden, even the weather gets nice if you just take their drugs. False advertising. They are going after them. There used to be rules against this, just like there were rules against the alcohol industry having really cool ads. It looks like they are going to go back to ramp up enforcement of the federal regulations on drug ads, something they haven't done because, well, most of Congress is employed by the pharmaceutical industry. That one to me is very exciting. Very exciting. Debbie, I just warn you, I leave hundreds of unanswered emails a day because I am just one human being and I have no intention of changing that. We'll be across the finish line before I could ever train somebody to be able to handle my emails. But give it a shot. The original MarkZ at gmail.com. Yeah, Peden wants to know why we're not talking about. They are openly talking about a change of value. They've talked about zeros, and we've talked about it on here all the time. But do we need to talk about it more? They keep talking about in the news. We've shared articles when they have them. I just don't know how to cover it any more than we have. Janice, no part of me thinks the big changes in Social Security are coming until we get a reset. Yeah, Joker Joe, I'll let the forensic people do that one. To me, it did not look unusual at all watching it. Did not look unusual at all. Horrendous is what it looked like. Let's see. Hey, Mark, do my wife and I need separate accounts for evaluation? We have a joint account or bank now. I was just wondering if we should get separate accounts at our bank now. No, don't waste your time. I was told repeatedly that they're going to open a different account for you when you deposit. I could be wrong. The folks at the bank that told me that could be misinformed, but it makes sense. And it makes sense that you're going to want a better quality account than you have now. Most likely, some type of premier account. I'm guessing they're going to have a really special style account for people with that kind of wealth. I would not waste time opening accounts ahead of time. I know in the past when I've sold a business or sold a property or something, I've gone in and they'll open an account for you right there, right then, gladly, and they'll roll out the red carpet. Don't jump through hoops until it's time is going to be my warning. Ban spoons and forks for making people fat. Yeah, that'll work. Judy, I've not seen that one, but that is not a surprise. How about Newsom giving land to not white farmers? I don't think they understand when you give somebody a preference based on race, that's racist. If you ignore everything else and do it solely based on race, that's racist. Whether it's pro or con against your race, it's still racism. It seems to confuse a lot of folks out there. Strubs, where all the flag waving, where all the yeah, the Ukrainian flags. It's my question. Silence from the left was a great time to pull them back out, but it doesn't fit the narrative. No, it doesn't. To me, it's horrendous. Free us. We turned over our store supplies, drum beans, getting to organization that feeds the homeless. I tried that Free us, but because we packaged it ourselves, they said they couldn't or wouldn't take it. I tried that one. So for me, it's got to go to an individual. And now we get to just hang out. I was done in ahead of time. We get to just hang out until it is time for Andy. Steven, I am glad you had somebody a little more open-minded at the bank. Talked to my bank manager, and we've already discussed what my bank and me handle things. A lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot. Many banks are willing to have these discussions. Some just simply aren't. I'll have to ask Lewis. Yeah, they claim Newsom's popularity numbers are up. I've not seen anything to support that. Now, I have seen some that says his approval ratings are up around the country and around the world, but I can't find any that have said that his numbers are up inside of California. Well, I shouldn't say I can't find any. I did find one. I'm trying to remember. It was a W something, some station in California. But when you took a look at their samples, it's as flawed a opinion poll as I could possibly come up with. Yeah, I'm going to make certain that I poll over half of the people that voted for him previously. That's probably not going to go well. You should probably get a better cross section of humanity. That's what boom. What do you guys think? If you folks in California, what do you think? Of course, I understand that it's probably biased because you're on here, so you're probably more independent leaning. Three something Atlee. I don't know what you're talking about on that one with the carry thing. Is 2025 our year? Do I think it's our year? I do believe it's our year. Do I know for certain? None of us know the timing, and that is Ray, for you, the price is perfect. It's free. And it'd be a buttload of it. Bring a pickup truck. See, 3-1 Atlas is just our space voyagers coming home after traveling galaxies. Are you talking about the anomaly we have that is moving through, seems to be self-powered, doesn't have enough of a tail, almost looks like it is nuclear propulsion? Is that perhaps what it's called now? When are we going to see the mainstream media report the real news? I don't know if we ever will, Texas artist. I don't know if we ever will. I think we will see new mainstream media replacing the legacy media. I think their day is pretty well done. I think they have regulated themselves to the ash heap of history. Haven't heard anything fun on dong rates in a couple of weeks. Well, was it 2 weeks ago? I had a great contact letting me know that I have been well off, or that the belief is I've been well off, that they believe, I think it's like 790 something on the NAR and upper fives in dong. I hope that's accurate, which to me would really play into this one and the devaluation of the dollar to make it work. It would very much make sense. I guess in a nutshell, I'm saying is I would not be surprised if they were right. Mark, the left's believe that if you tell a lie enough, it magically becomes reality. Sadly, it does kind of, or it becomes a perceived reality or perceived truth, even when it's not. Try to keep up with some of your comments. Yeah, help me do the math. Newsom's income 100 grand a year, but owns $10 million house. I wonder what is that? What do they make? Let's see. Twana, my friend's family think I'm crazy. My grandson is the only one. Twana, just be there after. They'll see the world. They'll see who was right and who was wrong. And I am perfectly fine with history being my judge. We get a little excited. We have Risk before we have Andy in the office. So it'll be a good time here. We can have a little fun with you.
Hi.
Yeah, we are live. So yeah, no picking your nose or anything. I can't edit it.
How are you?
I am fantastic. I was telling folks that we were expecting to have you and sharing some of your recent content.
Aww.
Now, the cargo port chaos, I saw that one with the falling shipping containers, but I've not dug into the story. They're going to love ones like this, the Historic Monarchy Brotherhood and Blood Cults. And I think half of them have already watched you or more. Think Agape, Riss, much love. Kevin, Riss, Gina, you're getting a lot of love already.
Oh, I mentioned I was going to be on your stream last night, and people said that they watched you too. So we have a similar audience, it seems.
Which I do find interesting because, well, obviously you're not as old as I am, but a similar community. So they must love the
Right.
content that you're doing or some of the topics.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Once I start posting online, I discover that I have more in common with like older people because my audience is around 60 years old. Um, and it all like happened around the time of the pandemic. I started talking about the news. I used to talk about fitness, hence the name Wristflex. And then I just started talking about origins of, what's going on in the world, and then it took off. So, and now
See,
this is, what people want to hear from me, and so I'm
I didn't
giving what
even
I
know
can.
that you started talking. I just assumed because when I'd first seen you, I think it was on Twitch. I just assumed that you had started as like a gamer.
No, I was really more posting about like health and fitness. I was always into research, just doing my own research. And I have lots of books on like health and like healing things naturally. And I started talking about that. And then I leaned more into like the fitness direction of that in like a comedy way. And then bounced back to,
And then COVID.
right. Yeah. So I just like continued my research obsession.
That's like there can be worst obsessions.
Did
We
you
could.
see the
I'd ask Andy, but I'm not certain he's with us yet. He's still hiding off camera.
Did you see the shipping port chaos though yesterday?
I've not watched it yet. Tell us about it while we're waiting here. I'm gonna keep him hidden down here until and you can tell us about, and guys, it's called Cargo Port Chaos, but I've not watched it yet.
Yeah, so a massive shipping container ship accidentally dumped like over 50 massive shipping containers into the ocean right off the coast of Los Angeles. And they are bringing out tugboats and pumping water to try to prevent them from going out into the ocean. And it's just the craziest thing to look at because they put so much effort into getting those ships across the oceans. Like it's such a massive like logistics operation, and they have to ward off pirates and everything, and then to see it all just go crumbling down right before it's about to go onto the mainland, like they were so close to it happening, and then it all just crumbled.
That
So
kind of reminds me of like after during COVID, the shipping crisis in the LA ports, where you would have like U.S. mail trains just looted. I mean, just stuff laying everywhere. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
it is crazy. You think about the logistics to get it here, and then you fumble the ball right at the end zone.
I know. So I'm curious what they're going to do with that. I know that there's a lot of life in that area. I imagine, like, I know with big ships, a lot of times when there's nowhere to put them, they'll just bring them out to ocean and sink them because they create a great habitat for fish. So I imagine that they're just going to let them sink and then just leave them there, unless they're
Yeah,
going to be pulling them out of, unless they float and then they're going to be pulling them out of the water. I don't know how they do it with the shipping containers, but I know with the ships they just let them sink because it's good for the habitat.
yeah. I'm just picturing like Sebastian the crab and or maybe Nemo out there, playing with Tickle Me Elmos in the bottom of the ocean. I mean, what was in the shipping containers, right?
Oh, I imagine just a bunch of Amazon packages or
Yeah, right.
Ninos and Ninas. Who
Yeah,
knows?
so when I can't find the new router I ordered, I know who to blame. Uh, I,
I
I
mean,
see. Go ahead.
yeah, no, just this is the largest port, I believe, in America, and they just recently created a bunch of mainland roads too to help create to help bring in the product that's coming in from this area, like all throughout Arizona and Nevada, these like massive roads. So it's a big operation there and it's just growing and growing.
Oh, it's huge. Shelly, with this one, Risk, thank you. You were the person that woke me up during the COVID lockdown. I'm very grateful. I remember
Oh,
like when I first saw your stuff in the lockdown, I remember just being kind of stunned. Because of your look, your age. I assumed you were younger than you are. And you are. I mean, you're still very young. Um,
you saw me during the lockdowns?
yeah, during the lockdowns. When I say I saw online, when you were doing some of
Oh.
your videos.
Yeah, I was
Um,
getting millions of views.
oh yeah, it
I had
was.
I deleted a lot of those videos because of, there was a lot of
You
censorship
don't
at the
want.
time.
I'm guessing you also don't want it to turn around and bite you in the butt. Like 2 years later, you get a strike because some content that's been up there for 2 years, 3 years. I've gotten rid of hundreds myself because of stuff like that. Uh, but I kept thinking, I was like, at this age, and she's noticing this. When I look at like people in your age bracket, it's real hit and miss whether they can even think for themselves. So I was impressed just based on that one. An independent thought from a millennial.
Hmm, yeah.
I don't know if you appreciate that. I found that the later millennials and the early Zs very much capable of free thought. Not all of them, at least a 50-50, but that kind of middle of the road millennial age bracket wise, that 90 to 95, most of them don't have an original thought in their head, and you did. So I was impressed just based on that.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're not
And
typical. Now we're just waiting for Andy to get tech worked out and join us.
no
Uh,
hay problema.
we do have some fun. I know how you like researching. Even Forbes now carrying this one. Rewrite the rules. 37 trillion US debt sparks wild crypto and gold reset theories. Bitcoin price soars. It comes from a Russian aide having a discussion. The Economic Times was the first big organization to report on it yesterday. Putin aide's like, yeah, uh, planned demolition of the U.S. dollar. They're tying it to stable coins and resetting the value of gold and just basically wiping debt. Or that's what they believe is going to happen. That the U.S. is busy with a complete reset of its monetary system. And Andy and I've been talking about it for a couple of years now. So that's our deep dive today.
So that's what they believe that's happening.
Russia believes, and I believe they're accurate because we've been screaming it for some time now, that, hey, glad to see somebody else finally caught on to what's going on. Uh, Lori, I will
100%.
share that. Give me just a second, and I will drop it into chat so that you guys can just click, follow, check out some of her content. Do you enjoy being a one-man tech crew or one-lady tech crew, Riss? I assume
I
you're like me.
appreciate the challenge. Like a problem arises, I have to solve it. And oftentimes I either do or just continue with my basic, what I know already. And then eventually the problem will keep coming up and I'll have to address it at some point.
Yeah.
And then I force myself to learn it. So I like to force myself to learn things, even if it's easy to try to find someone else to do it for me. You know, sometimes it's not though. When it comes to like streaming, it's really hard because a lot of it requires you to just like know how to use the interface. Like unless you can easily, if you have to understand like what the terminology is too in order to like do it all. So it's a whole different language. It really is.
I'm fairly
Um,
techie, but I will admit to being a little out of my depth on a lot of it. I've just kind of pounded through it.
yeah, I say like if you have children, get them comfortable with technology at a young age. I know some people are like children should not have technology, but like I babysat this kid one time and he was more advanced with tech than I was because he was on video games like all the time. Like he knew how to just like go into settings and change things and he was like 4 years old. I think it's good to at least have that skill developing and it's like a language, like I said, like you learn better when you're younger.
Oh, it is. It is definitely its own language.
Oh, Terry, you found me through Kirsten W. MarkZ, did you ever know Kirsten? I think I asked you that once.
Yes, I was familiar with her, but did
Okay.
not know her personally.
Yeah, I met her right before she passed away, just like a couple months before we like developed a really close connection. Um,
Dude, you're a lot of folks in here. We're big fans. So
oh,
you'll get a lot of conversation going on that one.
she was a badass woman.
Yep. Yes,
And
she
the one
was.
thing that I did learn from her was that when you are admitting yourself into the hospital or if someone else admits you, once they put you into that room where they put tubes in your throat to breathe, you don't have consent anymore. The doctor will tell you what is happening to you and you don't have control anymore. That is the one thing that really woke me up and wanted me to
Terrifying.
learn more about how to take care of myself. And the only time I will put myself into a hospital is if I have like a broken bone, some type of serious wound, like like something horrible where like I need them to stitch me up or some type of surgery. Other than that, like
Yeah, you're into nutrition and taking care of yourself. Yeah, why isn't that our first? Why do we wait for the crisis before we think about health?
why do we wait for the crisis?
Yeah, in other words, like most people, I mean,
Oh,
they eat
yeah.
crap, they behave poorly, they don't take care of
Oh.
themselves, and then they act surprised when medical science doesn't immediately fix it.
I have a friend that's a doctor in Florida, and he was telling me how he flies all over the country to different ERs and different hospitals. I guess they always have like these like certain type of specialists on call. And he was saying like,
The fuck is going on?
Are you fighting it, Andy?
wait, let me finish this thought.
All right.
He had this one
There we
patient
go.
fly in, and he was an ENT, right? So he took care of teeth, and he'll often like that when you have like a toothache, you need to listen to that. And you should probably like if you're not brushing your teeth,
There we go.
like go to a doctor and have them brush them for you or have them at least like observe what's going on in there because a toothache can lead into so many other illnesses. Breast cancer being one of them. Like the meridian is connected.
Well,
So
it's
like
crazy when you think about your teeth.
when my mom and I remember when he was telling me this, he just like basically pulled someone's tooth out and all of this pus came flushing out of this hole in this girl's freaking mouth and it's like this bacteria and it was like if it was hurting you should have done something about it. So my mom had breast cancer and at the same time she had a toothache and the doctor was like you should probably address the toothache and my dad at the time didn't know the connection so he was like we should probably hold off but like long story short, if you have breast cancer, you might have a toothache. Get your toothache addressed because you don't want to have pus flying out of a hole in your mouth.
Cool. That's just
Hi,
nasty.
Andy. Nice to meet you. My name's
Hi,
Riz.
nice to meet you too. Yeah, pus flying out of the mouth is low on the priority list. That doesn't sound
Dry
very
heat worthy.
appealing. That
Nasty.
doesn't sound. I'm sorry. It wouldn't be normal if I didn't have all sorts of chaos here this morning, but we're all good.
It's the move to the studio.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I'm glad I'm here. I don't have dogs barking and FedEx driver coming here, so it's all good. What did I miss, my friends?
That's why I need to get an actual studio.
Yeah, yeah, Riz, I'm
Because
with
you
you.
hear the lawnmowers all day long in a retirement community, and it is like really out of control.
Yeah, for me, it was the dogs barking and the FedEx, and I mean, always my dogs barking. Always, they'd be quiet for hours. I'd start a podcast and bang, just like that, they'd start barking. But it's nice to get out of the house after COVID, being in the house for 5 years and doing about 5,000 podcasts from in Minnesota when I lived there in my basement, now in Florida in my office at home. It's a nice change to get out.
Yeah, looking forward to it at some point myself. What we had started talking about, and then we got distracted while you were having your tech issues. But what we had started talking about was of the same vein of what I shared with you with the Putin's aid or the Russian aid, talking about the U.S. plan to reset, and lo and behold, it makes Forbes.
Isn't that crazy, Mark? Because I said this was my theory, right? And I started talking about this on your show a month ago or more. Or I don't know. I've been saying this for almost 2 months. And to me, it is absolutely what is happening. And you see, he talks on that recording, he talks about a $35 trillion debt. And it's actually more like 37 or 38, but really
we're just gonna ignore the unfunded part.
Right. They're ignoring the unfunded part, the Medicare, the Medicaid, the Social Security, the government military pensions. And, you know, I always love to say for people, they've heard me say it ad nauseum, 1 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. The numbers are too big to ever be paid off. And that's why my mentor, Richard Russell, God rest his soul, always said to me 15 years ago, Andy, the Fed is trapped. They either inflate or they die. Inflate or default. This is the third option, and that is to soft default on the dollar and on the world reserve currency, and with the intention of bringing back manufacturing by massively devaluing the dollar. We can go into it again, of course, if you want. I've talked about it on your show a few times, but there is no question in my mind. And I was the one who was either stupid enough or lucky enough to say the stuff about BRICS 5 years ago when no one was. I'm saying this now. And I've been saying it for a few months, although mine's a little bit different than what he's saying, but very, very, very similar. I believe the moral of the story is, whether you listen to what I was saying or what that Russian finance minister was saying, was that if you save in dollars, if you keep your wealth in dollars, you are destined to go broke, period. And you can see this is already happening with the dollar down 11% this year. And, you know, this is a trend that you will see continue as far as I'm concerned. So this is the Cantillon effect in action, which says the people closest to the money are the ones that benefit disproportionately because they have assets. And if you have assets in a depreciating dollar, your assets go higher. Your dollar and its purchasing power get kneecapped. So he's echoing it, and he's damn right. He's exactly right in what he's saying. Happy to talk about this or any way you want to go, brother. I think he's right, and the Russians see it very clearly.
Well, first, I'm going to start with a shameless plug for Andy and Miles Franklin. Guys, if you're interested, they do have prices online. They're even better if you send them an email, info@milesfranklin.com, and ask for one. Tell them you're part of my community, or if you're here with Rissa's community, tell them you're part of Rissa's community. The price is going to be just as good whether you're mine or hers. Andy takes care of them, but don't hesitate. They'll even help you with new directions and moving an IRA if you want. Okay, the shameless plugs out of the way.
Yeah,
right
info Mile. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I never go that way on your show, and because to me it's about the information. And It's about the why, not the what. And if I've earned some of your listeners' trust, that's phenomenal. But info@milesfranklin.com is the best way to do it. Send an email, ask for the price list, ask any questions, and let us know if you want to be contacted. Put your number down.
Say that again,
What do you want to talk about? Pardon me?
info@milesfranklin.com.
That would be an email. Yeah, milesfranklin.com, MILES, Franklin like Ben Franklin.
I'll send it to you though, Riss. Once we get Andy on a tangent, I'll text it all to you, or I'll email it. You just tell me what you prefer.
Who, me on a tangent? That doesn't ever happen.
Never, ever. Wait till we get to talking about old fashions or music or baseball cards, Riss, and then just day's done. One thing I was watching, Andy, is as we see Russia, it's becoming very clear when the Miller reset. China's 10-month straight with massive gold buys on the books. We're not even talking about what they're buying off the books for their central bank. But then I look at like Europe, who really is financially screwed. They don't have the dollars to be pounding it in gold, and they keep beating the war drums. There's only a handful of ways out of the bankruptcy. Wartime economy, try to hide your sins. When I'm watching the articles, it kind of scares me a little. Okay, maybe a lot. As I watch, because throughout history, World War usually comes with these financial resets.
Yeah, it does. When all else fails, you take them to war. But I mean, the leaders have to be literally out of their fucking minds. Pardon me for swearing, Kukla. I apologize. But you deal with nuclear powers like this. Look, when the deal was struck, I don't know who was, Khrushchev, I think it was, and NATO, the deal was they would not encroach eastward. They are encroaching eastward. They're getting closer and closer to Russia. We continue to provoke them. And, I just think that many of these leaders are out of their damn minds. And it's the last thing that you want to be doing right now. After 4 years prior to this administration, of complete brain dead policy that we've talked about ad nauseum, and whether it be our domestic policy, which was ridiculous, or our foreign policy, the last thing that we should be doing is provoking. And certainly NATO should not be provoking. You get one of these missteps, and it's an Article 5 or Article 6 where they all have to, it's Article 5, isn't it? Where they all have to defend one another unilaterally. It is not a good thing. You don't look, if you look at the military parade that you saw in China, look, in China and Russia, who's to say that, I would hope China wouldn't get involved in any of this, but they are all very much connected in several groups, including the BRICS, including the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is the largest regional military organization on the planet. All of their what they were displaying, it was significant. It was all about anti-drone equipment, ballistic, hypersonic ballistic missiles, not just your traditional ones, hypersonic ICBMs that come out of either a submarine or shot out of the ground. But it was specifically pointed at the United States, like, don't mess with us, because we have the ability to fight with you in a way that no one wins. And Russia has technology that we don't, including the hypersonic missiles. And at least we claim that we don't. This is a missile that goes, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 times the speed of sound, and it would hit the mainland United States in about 8 minutes. So it's just, the whole thing about war is absolutely ridiculous. And all of these leaders need to be thrown out, every single one of them, that especially, the UK, France, they're just absolutely ridiculous, not only in the way they deal with their people, what's happening in the UK with the suppression of free speech and jailing people for tweeting or posting something that is controversial to LGBTQ or whatever it may be, or France for provoking the way that they are as well. And Macron saying that they want to be the defender of Europe. I don't know, but I will tell you that, these are certainly very dangerous times. And let's just hope that doesn't happen, because this is not the way war used to be in World War II. You have technology now that can become real. The wars that we've seen in the Ukraine, the skirmishes that you saw in Syria, what you're seeing in Israel, any of the stuff that you're seeing is not the stuff that they had on display in China. And that's significant stuff, God forbid. So I don't know. I just hope that they don't go down that road. But in terms of economics, Europe's a basket case. And I guess we'll see. Let's just hope this time is different, because a lot of people are talking about this, including Martin Armstrong, that, we're closer to World War III than we've ever been. Let's hope not. I mean, there's not much more that you can say about that.
It seems like issues.
Go ahead.
It seems like it needs to get resolved, because if it doesn't get resolved, then we're all going to die, because we can't even rely on our own gardens anymore. Like, the CIA created these bugs that were killing our plants. They put lampreys in the Great Lakes so we can't fish. Like, what do we do if we don't even have food? We have the UN come in and feed us.
Yeah, and who owns the majority of the farms in the United States? It's Bill Gates. And there's so much stuff out there that there's a fine line between conspiracy and reality. And I think that people need to wake up to exactly what's happening. I focus more, I do focus a lot on geopolitical events, and I do focus a lot on monetary events. It was my central focus during the Biden administration, because everything was right in your face: the lawlessness, the open borders, the immigration, the election integrity, the two-tier justice system. I left Minnesota because of it. I have focused slightly less on this as the Trump administration took over, because things have at least started to move towards more of American culture, ideals, moving away from lifestyle choices and more towards meritocracy, things like that. Having safe borders, he's taking steps, although you could argue here's the fine line between conspiracy and reality when you talk about election integrity and the digital ID requirement. And, if you look behind the digital ID 2020, who has all the patents? Again, you got Bill Gates. You have Sarna, I believe they're called Sarna, the vaccine corporation. You have the Rockefellers. And so there's a lot of stuff happening right now. And that is why I think people need to think outside the box. When I tell people to buy gold and silver, it is not to become wealthy. It is because all of this stuff is connected. And we are in the midst of massive change. I would argue with the passage of the Genius Act, we're in the middle of a new monetary system where gold is what that guy was saying is exactly what we're doing. And with change comes, potentially for disruptions, whether that be at home or abroad. But the world is going through a very, very large change right now. And I think that if you don't see that, if you're not a contrarian on many levels, whether it be spiritually, morally, socially, economically, geopolitically, you're going to end up being a victim. And these are the kind of discussions that I love having, and I hope people take it the way it's meant to be, that this is with an open mind. We don't hope any of this stuff happens, but to not be aware of it and not to try and do what you can to protect your family, whether it be through growing your own food. Because a lot of people would say that's a great idea. I do, and I think it is a great idea. Plant fruit trees.
You gotta keep it in a greenhouse or something.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, you do.
We got these bugs coming in, eating everything.
The ultimate form of civil disobedience is plant a garden and carry some silver or some gold on you. It's like, what if government can't control what you eat, what you drink, and how you spend, then you're free. Their goal is to control every bit of that, whether they admit it or not.
100%.
The ungovernable.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, because if it does, we all got bigger problems. I think you can only do what you can do. Hope for the best, prepare best you can for the worst, but God forbid that we get dragged into something like that. All bets are off. But we do what we can do. What else you got on your mind today, Marcus?
Well, first, I like Whitebot's idea. Just load risks up with some love, folks. You can catch Andy over there, hopefully soon as well. Asian beetles, nuisance. I think about all the things they've done to us.
Yeah, those Asian beetles will screw up a tree really bad. I had them when I lived in Minnesota. I had a couple apple trees, and they literally kill the leaves. They suck all the life out of the leaves, and they're bad. They're really bad. They look like ladybugs.
What part of Minnesota were you in?
I lived in my office. My corporate office is in Wayzata, Minnesota, Lake Minnetonka area. If those of you that watched Purple Rain, what was her name? Abelonia. She was baptized in Lake Minnetonka, just outside of Minneapolis. Just outside, 10, 15 minutes west of Minneapolis.
Okay.
But now we have an office, we've had an office in Boca Raton, Florida for almost 20 years. And during the George Floyd riots, I moved. I was in the middle of doing thousands of YouTube videos, literally. And they were saying the police aren't coming. If you live in the suburbs, Antifa's coming out, shelter in place, don't answer your door past 7 o'clock. I mean, it was nuts. I was sleeping with guns on my nightstand, and I just said nuts to this, and I picked up and I moved to Florida. Now, I will always love Minnesota, but it is not the place I grew up. I raised a family there. I grew up. I went to the University of Minnesota, and it's just not the place it once was for many reasons. And I blame the politicians. Governor Walz really is a guy who's got his head so far up his ass, it's not even funny on many levels. A $16 billion surplus that turns into a deficit, and for doing things, well, we don't need to go down that road, but it's a state that's lost its bearings for sure. But I'll always love it. I'll always love Minnesota. I'm not a Minnesota basher. I just couldn't live there anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if Riss is allowed out that late at night. Just kidding, Riss. We do Whiskey and Wisdom on Wednesday nights. Occasionally, we get Andy to join us as well. It's it's fun.
Got to drink whiskey though.
I think I have a little bit left downstairs. I think it's Japanese.
That's good stuff.
That's good stuff.
Whiskey.
Yeah, it's good.
That is good stuff.
So what should we talk about today? I got lots. I don't need to go on a rampage, but I'll follow your lead, brother.
One thing, what is, more and more stories. I mean, even hold on here. I've got another one here. Talking about Iraqi citizens stockpiling gold. They're worried about the dollar falling, etc. We've seen articles like that from what I consider the global South countries, left and right, where individuals are holding. What's the difference between spot? What's the premium right now? Because that usually gives us a good idea of how well they're doing suppressing prices. How bad is it?
Well,
are you starting to see it move? Because we're looking at like a couple of weeks of record gold contracts ending and them wanting delivery. Is it starting to affect the
See, that's the key to understanding. This is why so few people never succeed. So few people succeed in investing because of this. First of all, you have to understand that, and I'll just maybe rehash what I talked about with you guys last week to answer that question. Right now, in the United States, you have 3 all-time records in the stock market. You have the largest participation by the retail public, mom and pop, at about, almost 50%, just under, ever, including the 1929 crash, including the dot-com bubble, ever. The largest participation by the retail public. You have the largest exposure to options by the public. That would be speculation. You have the largest exposure to margin debt, which is leverage, ever in the history of the stock market, ever. And this is all by the retail public.
And we can just leave out derivatives.
Yeah, well, and in essence, the derivatives are harder to quantify who owns them. But as far as options, as far as margin debt, and as far as just flat out participation, it's all-time record. At the same time, you have the insiders who have been selling 2 to 4 billion a week since the beginning of the year. These would be largely the institutionals, the hedge funds, as an example. You have the guys like Bezos, who sold almost 7 billion in Amazon since June 1st. Zuckerberg, Jamie Dimon, they're all dumping. You have the 3 largest shareholders and board members of NVIDIA that cumulatively have sold over $1 billion worth of NVIDIA stock. You have Warren Buffett, 500 billion in cash.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, rumors are he's sitting on. He recently picked up in the last 2 years, like $2 billion in physical metal. This is a guy that hates metals, and he's buying.
That's right, metals. And all in cash. Now, first of all, just from a contrarian standpoint, at a 7-to-1 clip, insiders selling to buying, and the public all in. What could possibly go wrong, right? Now, at the same time, to your point, we have seen deliveries into COMEX at a level that I've done this for 35 years is not even close to anything I've ever seen. Never, ever, ever, ever. We've become net importers of gold. And the amount of gold and silver coming into the country is by far the largest in the world right now, that we know of. At the same time, the public has very little exposure to gold. And I'll get to your question on the premiums in a minute. Month to date, this was as of Monday when I looked at this, 3,626 gold contracts month to date for the September contract had stood for delivery. Well, let's see what that adds up to. That was just what is the date today? The 10th. So this was a week into the September contract. 3,626 times 100, 362,600 times 30. What is gold today? Gold is 3650. So times 3650. That is 1,323,490,000 in the first week stood for delivery. Now in silver, it's crazy. It's 10,599 times 5,000. There's 5,000 ounces in a silver contract. It's 52,995,000 ounces of silver times, let's call it 4125. That is 2,186,043,750. So in the first week, we've seen almost $4 billion worth of gold and silver stand for delivery. But this is every single month that we've been seeing this over and over and over again. Now, at this level, this is massive sophistication. It is not easy to stand for delivery. And the people who are standing for delivery for $4 billion worth of gold and silver in a week, which is, it'll be much more than that by the end of the year. But this is small so far compared to what we've seen every month since November, since he won the election. These people do not do things for shits and giggles, period. They don't. The people who have this kind of money are also closest to the information. And they know what's coming. They know the playbook. Now, what's happened since the beginning of the year? Well, the dollar's down 11%. Gold and silver are both up damn well near 40%. Do you think that that's by accident? And at the same time, misdirection. Think the art of war, right? How to beat your opponent without throwing a punch. No one's talking about this. I remember, man, like it was yesterday. Gold finally breaks above $400. Oh my God, it finally breaks above 400. If you would have told me gold would be $3,600 25 years later, and nobody notices it, I'd say there's no way. There's just zero way. So you have the biggest money in the world, in essence, moving out of the equity markets as the public is all in on margin, all in on speculation, and just all in. At the same time, you have the public who really doesn't have a clue about what's going on in the commodity markets. And the biggest money in the world has been, for the last 5 years, the central bank's been standing for delivery. But now the United States is. This is what is different. Someone got to Trump in his administration and said, dude, if we don't do this, it's game over. So here's what we're going to tell the world. It's all about tariffs and arbitrage. We're going to make it seem like tariffs, and we're going to make the price in New York higher because of this than in London, and all of that metal will siphon over for tariffs, and guess what? It ain't going back. And all of the clues that we keep seeing point to this being true. Of course, the comments that come out of the Treasury Secretary, the Judy Shelton comments, Goldman Sachs. What did Goldman Sachs just say? Goldman Sachs says, if the market believes that the Fed has lost its independence, 5,000 gold like that. They're saying 4,000, 4,200 base case right now. If the market believes the Fed has lost independence, 5,000. What has just happened? Well, you have one of the members vacate an open spot, retires, goes back to the civilian life, and Stephen Mirren takes his place or her place. Stephen Mirren is the architect of the Mar-a-Lago Accord. What is the Mar-a-Lago Accord? In essence, a massively devalued dollar in order to reshore manufacturing. That's interesting. He is now on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. You see Trump constantly badgering Powell. You will see people, in fact, he just came out and said something, Trump did. He says, the president who not only wants interest rates significantly lower, but the dollar as well. So he's coming out, Trump is coming out and saying that whoever goes in, they must have low interest rates and they want a weaker dollar. He's saying this publicly. So the bottom line is you have the biggest money in the world who understand this. They understand that if you don't reposition ourselves and grab all the gold and silver, that this is where the world is going. The world is going back because no one trusts anyone anymore. When we weaponized the dollar against Russia and took their $5 billion in treasuries and gave it in the form of weapons to the Ukraine, that's game over. You cross a line that you will never come back from. No one will ever, ever, ever trust you again. And that's what the Russian foreign minister was saying in that speech. He says they're doing this because no one trusts the dollar anymore. And rightfully so. When you are the world reserve currency, we've talked about what happened in Iraq. I know you talk about Iraq a lot, but if you go into a country under the guise of weapons of mass destruction, you don't find, sorry, we didn't find them. I'm sorry, but we destroyed your country. We toppled your regime. And guess what? We're still here 22 years later. The world looks at us as hypocritical. It's game over. And so I think someone said to him, if we don't reshore all of this gold and silver, it's over. And there is no way that the United States can sell its debt to the world unless there is something credible to it. What is the only way to have credibility behind the U.S. Treasury, at least the long-dated Treasury? That's Judy Shelton's idea of pegging it to gold. To the Russian foreign minister's comment, how do you put all of this debt in the cloud? I got a great idea. Let's say everyone has to use stable coins, including all of the corporations like Amex and Visa and MasterCard and all of the banks. And those stable coins will be pegged 1-to-1 to short-term treasuries. This is how you create synthetic demand when no one wants organically our treasuries anymore. The back end, you peg to gold. Why do you peg it to gold? Because now you have a zero coupon bond, no interest paid, zero, but redeemable in gold, which acts as the interest. So you can bring back your manufacturing at zero borrowing costs. By revaluing gold, you're not revaluing gold, you're devaluing the dollar. What does Stephen Mirren want to do? The Mar-a-Lago plan, devalue the dollar. What did the Russian foreign finance minister say? They're going to do again what they did in 33 and 72 and 73. He said Nixon, he said Roosevelt. Roosevelt devalued the dollar by revaluing gold. So did Nixon in 72 and in 73, from 35 to 38 and from 38 to 42.22, where it stayed on the books forever. And Roosevelt confiscated gold at 20, devalued the dollar by 40% and made gold $35. When you revalue gold, you are devaluing the dollar, in essence. So with a massively devalued dollar and zero interest rates on the back end of the bond market, you can bring back your manufacturing at no cost And then at the massive devaluation of the dollar, you can sell your goods to the world and hopefully grow your way out of this problem in 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, or our children are doomed, period. There is no other way out of this. And when you realize we're 200 trillion in debt and 31,688 years ago is 1 trillion seconds, it's over because we do not have a manufacturing base. 60% of this country has no college education. AI is going to have its way with jobs. If we don't bring back these manufacturing capabilities, this country will literally fall into chaos. Because when you are reliant on the rest of the world for all of your pharmaceuticals, all of your military components, all of your aircraft components, everything, you're dead. And so I do think there is nobility in all of this. How do you get enough gold to back the treasury? You revalue it at a much higher rate, which also devalues the dollar. It's just so logical to me. I think that I think you're going to see gold, if I had to guess, well over 4,000 this year, approaching 5,000, maybe even this year by next year. And I don't ever say that, Mark. You know I never give prices.
I'm braver than you are on that one.
I think it's just beginning. In fact, you had there's a guy that I like. He lives in, I think he lives in Dubai. He's from Canada. His name is Bald Guy Money, and he's a good guy. And he was saying that if 20% reallocates out of the bond market, you'll see gold at $9,000 overnight. It's just beginning. And when you talk about silver, there's a 90+% correlation between gold and silver throughout all of history. For 5,000 years. One goes, the other will follow, not symmetrically always, but it's like a slingshot. So when you see almost 2 billion or over 2 billion in silver delivered in a week, don't forget, don't sleep on silver. It will have its day too. But bottom line is, to me, it doesn't matter anything other than who is standing for delivery. And what that we know of amounts to well over 100 billion in gold and silver since the beginning of the year, probably a whole lot more. Here in the United States, at that level, these people do it because they know the playbook and they know where this is ultimately going. So although it seems like gold and silver are high, wasn't always that way when I was talking to you, I think it's just beginning.
One, it's the planned demolition of the fiat U.S. Fed dollar. I mean, you're watching it right in front of your eyes happening. Obvious to me, but then I've been watching it too. Maybe Rickards is right. Maybe we see 24,000, 25,000 gold. I mean, they desperately need it to have a value like that to pull this off.
Yeah, and he comes to that number through I think he takes M2 and divides it into the gold supply. But by doing that, you would, the Treasury would, so every $4,000 increase in the price of gold, the Treasury Department would get 1 trillion free and clear. And it is a accounting gimmick. The Treasury says, these are gold certificates. Sell it, give it to the Fed, which says you have collateral. You hold our gold. You don't get to keep the gold. This just says that you get the fiat value of it. So we, in essence, owe you $6 trillion. Okay. First of all, the president could tell the Treasury Secretary, revalue gold to 24,000. Done. Treasury Secretary tells the Fed, do it. It's done. Don't need congressional approval. Treasury gives these gold certificates to the Fed. The Fed then prints 6 trillion out of thin air, gives it to the Treasury. It's in their general account. Now they can start to pay down their debt, do whatever they want with it. A $24,000 gold price would benefit who? Well, not just the United States. How about all of the BRICS nations who have been buying gold hand over fist? They all are. So it benefits the world, but what it does is it devalues the dollar by about 60%. The only downside, there are downsides, one of which will be heavy inflation. You'll see universal basic income for a couple of years in this country, for sure, because, you know, eggs and bread and milk and whatever is going to be expensive. But what that would enable us to do, excuse me, is peg gold to the back end of the market. like Judy Shelton says, to then bring home our manufacturing at a massively devalued dollar and zero interest costs, zero interest payments, and then sell your products to the rest of the world like we used to do. And that devalued dollar gives you the ability to do that. It's coming. It's happening. There is no question in my mind.
Yeah, where does this leave you thinking, Riz? How much of this is brand new to you or the concept?
I'm not too smart when it comes to this stuff, but I think like how am I gonna use it to like buy stuff? Like, how does that work?
Well, that's a good question, and normally I think the first answer to that question is in any asset, in any investment, any asset, how do you pay for it with that asset? There are 11 states in the United States, including my home state here now, Florida, that have passed legal tender laws saying that an American Eagle gold or silver coin is legal tender for all debts, public and private. You cannot make someone take it. If a shop like Publix grocery store doesn't want to take it, they don't have to. You could take those gold and silver coins into the county commissioner and pay your property tax or your license plate tabs or whatever. But here's the thing, and this is, another one of my cliches that I say all the time. Gold and silver combined were mentioned over 700 times in the Bible, almost 6,000 years ago or whatever. They have outlived 2 world wars, German hyperinflation, the Great Depression, every pandemic, everything. And here we are 6,000 years later, in the most sophisticated, well-funded, and more importantly, well-informed traders in the world are buying it like it's going out of style. So in essence, you don't always have to spend your gold and silver perhaps, but what it does for you is it provides I can go back through time and you pick any year and I'll show you how this works, where gold and silver have retained their purchasing power in the face of a declining dollar. And I've mentioned this on your show, but for Riz, let me give her a few examples. First example, 1963, my parents get married. They're still married. They were living on $6,000 a year comfortably. My dad's first job out of college, comfortably. I didn't believe him. I said, that can't be. That's just ridiculous. I looked it up. The average salary in 63 was like 10 grand a year. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's your first job out of college? I believe it. Living in an apartment, no kids. Yeah, you probably could do that. An ounce of gold at that point was $35 an ounce. But let's look at, for example, home values. And I'll start with 2005 as a good example. 2005, if you look it up, the average price of a house in the United States, I think, was $220,000, and gold was $455. So 220,000 divided by 455, that would be 483 ounces of gold. So right now, the average house is about 420. Maybe a little bit more. I'm doing this from memory. It's very close to that number. 420 is the average price in the United States. If you would have, at that time, if you had 483 ounces of gold in 20 years ago in 2005, and you wanted to just spend it to buy off your house, have no debt, great. If you held it and didn't and took out a mortgage, yeah, your dollar's devalued against a house that's now almost double what it was 20 years ago, 220 to or 240 to 420. But that 483 ounces of gold right now is worth $1.7 million. You can buy 4 houses. Now, you can go back as far as you want on any level, and you will see what gold and silver do is retain their purchasing power. In the face of a devaluing dollar, the dollar will continue to devalue continuously. It will continue to devalue. We have no way out of this but to continue to inflate. And so this is what the Cantillon effect says. This is why the wealthy get wealthier. In an inflated scenario where the money supply keeps on increasing because of Triffin's dilemma, and I know I'm throwing around these big words, but Triffin's dilemma is the world reserve problem. This is why Vice President Vance on White House letterhead said, because of Triffin's dilemma, it is not good for the United States to be the world reserve currency anymore. This is why we'll default on the reserve currency. What is Triffin's dilemma? Triffin's dilemma says if the entire world needs dollars to pay for everything, because it's world reserve currency, we cannot provide enough dollars to everyone simply through trade alone. So we have to create dollars to send to the world. In order for them to get those dollars, they have to sell their local currency first, which pushes their currency down to buy ours, pushes our currency up. So manufacturing becomes much cheaper around the globe in a devalued currency situation. So the point of it is that we're creating so much money to send around the globe that inflation is here to stay. There is no way that we can dig our way out of a $28 trillion debt without
Okay. So essentially, like the gold and the precious metals are where you want to hold your money and store it, but you still need like the paper stuff so we can like exist in the world.
Correct.
In
You just
small
don't want to
amounts,
have more
so it
money than you
coexists.
need. Yes, you don't want to have more cash than you need. Because look at it this so far this year. Gold's up 40%, the dollar's down 11%. That's a 50% spread in purchasing power. And the dollar will continue to fall in value continually. And that's just the lesson of history, and it's accelerating right now as we get towards the end of it. Gold is wealth. It's not something you buy to get wealthy, although if you own enough, you will be. You buy it to get out of the way of what's happening to the value of the currency that we have. And with this administration, their entire goal is to devalue the dollar and inflate the crap out of it, in order not only to pay off the debt, but in order to have such a devalued dollar that manufacturing looks good to other countries. Because if they have to convert to an expensive currency first, like ours, then our manufacturing doesn't work. Why would you first convert at a huge premium to another currency to buy a product you can buy from another country around the world at a much lower currency rate? That's in essence what the problem we have right now with manufacturing. And this is their way to address it. Because if we don't, the country's in very, very, very dire straits in the years ahead.
Yeah, we should definitely introduce her to Glint. Neat
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, so what Glint is a program that Miles Franklin is proud to represent in the United States. We're the only ones that do. In fact, I just had dinner with Jason 2 nights ago. He was in town. He's the CEO of Glint. It is a program where you have gold held in a vault in Brink's facility in Zurich, and or silver, and you have a MasterCard that they provide for you that allows you to access it just like that and spend it anywhere around the world that MasterCard is used. It is a far better way than holding excess cash in the bank that is losing value every single day, by holding it in a secure vault, and you get an app on your phone. The technology is world class, and it is fully secured in a Brinks facility. And I've worked with Brinks now for over 2 decades. We've done 300 million in storage with Brinks around our 9 vaults in the United States and Canada. I've never, ever seen an ounce out of place. It's as good as it gets.
That's a neat concept. We'll have to do a deep dive on that one for you, Riss, if you're interested. I am hitting time. When's your next podcast, Andy?
I got time. Let me see. I could go a little bit later today. I think my next one isn't until 4 o'clock. So I got all the time in the world if you want to hang for a little bit.
Let's see, Ro, would you sell to someone who seems suspicious to purchase from you, or do you turn certain buyers away? Yeah, I can't imagine. Strange question.
Look, I've been doing this for so long, man. I've been doing this since I was 19, and I just had my 55th birthday, and I know in 2 seconds I can
Happy
feel
birthday.
it if some. Thank you, appreciate it. I know in 2 seconds if someone is. Let me put it to you this way. Let me answer it this way. We have procedures that no one else does, because the very few do. What separates my company from everyone else's, and this isn't even a plug on Miles Franklin, it's just the truth. My oldest friend Joel, who I grew up with since second grade. Came down here to Florida after working for me in Minneapolis for a while. And he said, would you mind if I moved to Florida, chase a girl, and I'll open up a satellite office for us in Delray Beach? I said, go for it. That was almost 20 years ago. So we've had an office here for 20 years. When I left Minneapolis during the George Floyd riots, I left my corporate office in Minneapolis for one reason. Now, living in Florida, there is no state income tax. I would have saved a lot of money leaving my office or bringing my office down here with me on many levels. But I left it in Minneapolis because we're the only state in America, that regulates what is a federally non-regulated industry. We have continuing education classes and compliance that we have to take every year, licensing that has to be done every single year, and background checks by everyone in the company every single year. If anyone had a felony, they're out, related to financial services forever, and a very large surety bond. So we have compliance that we would have to do if we felt something was out of the ordinary or suspicious. We're held to a much higher standard, and that's a good thing for everyone else, because almost every company in America has boycotted the state of Minnesota. They won't do business there. It's the only state where you have to have all of this onerous licensing and bonding and background checks. A $2 million surety bond alone, most people say, I'm out, done, nuts, done. I'll work in the other states. The state of Minnesota Commerce Department will sue another company like that if they are not licensed in the state, whether you are in one state and selling into Minnesota or are domiciled in Minnesota and selling out. So yeah, I mean, look, if someone says something to me that's just not kosher, I will dig and dig and dig until I get to the bottom of it, or we won't do business. And in 36 years and 13 billion in sales, we've never had a customer complaint or a regulatory complaint as a result of the way we do things. And it's probably my greatest achievement ever, other than raising 3 kids. And that is to run a business that's been around for that long, starting from nothing in a one-room office the size of a closet, not much bigger than this studio, before the internet. You know, there was no internet, there was no email. It was just, cell phones were pretty much new back then in 1989. So, you know, no, I won't do business with someone if I think they're sketchy. It's not worth it. It's not worth the backlash.
No, it's not. Yeah, I don't even know where to go on that one. What's next?
Do you get the gold from like West Africa?
So we are U.S. Mint authorized resellers, one of only 27 in the world. We have contracts with the United States Mint. In Africa, we don't buy it from any artisanal miners or anything like that. We only buy it from the Rand Mint. The Rand Mint is the oldest mint in the world that makes 1 ounce coins. I mean, there are other mints that are older, like the Vienna Philharmonic Mint, but there are 6 major mints in the world. There's the U.S. that makes the eagle, the buffalo. There is the Canadian Mint that makes the maple leaf, the Australian Mint that makes the kangaroo, South Africa, which is the Krugerrand, Austria, the Vienna Philharmonic, and the United Kingdom, which is the Britannia. Now, China and Mexico have mints, but they export nearly nothing. So we work with all of the mints and all of the refineries in North America, but no, I mean, we wouldn't buy any artisanal gold from some random. We buy anything that is refined by reputable sources. We buy, but it's like Pepsi, Coke, Sprite, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper. I mean, the difference between the mints is just the design on the coin. Now, you may not like one over the other, but in the end, they all spend the same. In the United States, my advice to people would be to make it very simple and stick with American Eagles Gold, American Eagles Silver. If you had your druthers, Canadian Maple Leaf Gold and Silver would be number 2. These are recognized everywhere. There is no subjectivity at all. They are vanilla ice cream. It's just straight up gold bullion made by the mints every single year in forms that are recognizable. But when you see states moving towards passing legal tender laws that favor American Eagles, to me, it's the place to be. Non-subjective, immediately liquid, and it's just keeping it very simple, to be honest with you. But yeah, sourcing metal from proper places is what we do. Now, when we get metal in from the public, just so people know, we have very sophisticated machinery that can tell down to 1,000th of an ounce what the composition is. So in terms of any counterfeits or anything like that, which we never really see, we test everything that comes in not sealed from one of the 6 primary mints and make sure that what you're getting is legit and in mint condition.
Yeah, where to go on that one? Somebody was asking the question about the wealth. It's an unusual spot. Normally you want it, but like Andy had pointed out earlier, the U.S. dollar's down 11%, gold's up 40%. It's because of the suppression, the devaluation of the U.S. dollar. It is one of those magical times in life where it's not really just the whole wealth. It could be, but that's generally not historically the way you've looked at holding precious metals.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it has been. See, that's the thing that people don't get. And that's a fair question. I say it that way because I don't want to be one of the companies that tells you to buy it to get rich. Now, as I always tell people, and I'll tell you, Rich, that so I went to the University of Minnesota with aspirations of playing baseball, and I hurt myself and started the company with my dad. And we started in this tiny little office. My dad's middle name is Miles, and his best friend who lent us $60,000 in 1989, his middle name is Franklin. And he said, join me, we'll start this company. One rule and one rule only, you'll buy something every 2 weeks, period. Gold or silver when you get paid, or I'll fire you. All right, that's the only rule. I can deal with that. Now, I've owned the company pretty much outright for 2 decades. He won't fire me any longer, but I have promised I've honored my word. And I bought something every 2 weeks for 36 years. And I will tell you, honest to God is my witness, it is the best gift I've ever been given, ever. And that is to learn to prioritize your future self, to pay yourself first, to understand the laws of compounding. So sure, it is wealth. If you own enough of it, you'll be wealthy. And it has outperformed everything. With the exception maybe of Bitcoin, which probably outperformed it. But if we look at traditional assets, if you go back to 1971, here's an interesting one for you. I think I even wrote this down, but I can show you all sorts of there. In 1971, if you would have invested in whatever amount you want since 1971, I'll read it to you the way it says. It says, guess which investment has performed the best if you bought on the day President Nixon closed the gold window on August 15th, 1971. Number 1, gold. Number 2, the S&P 500. Number 3, the Dow Jones. Number 4, silver. You go back to the beginning of this year, or beginning of this century, 2000. Since 2000, the S&P 500 is up 9.6% or thereabouts with dividends reinvested, which no one ever does. If you took all of the dividends and reinvested them back in, and that is the way you make money in stocks, you don't take those dividends and spend them, you reinvest them. And if you did that, 9.6% annually per year since 2000. Gold is at 9.9% since 2000, and it pays no dividend. It has outperformed everything. So yes, you will be wealthy if you own it. And my mentor, Richard Russell, would say if you make 7% a year, you will go down in the investing Hall of Fame. The problem we have is that too many people ignore what gold and silver have done. It's the tortoise, it's not the hare. Because, for some reason in this era of gambling and speculation and get rich quick, if it doesn't have a triple-digit gain behind it in a year, no one is into it. And that'll be a mistake in the end. So to the lady's point who wrote that, yeah, it is going up and it will make you wealthy, but that's not why you buy it. You buy it because it is wealth and because the smartest money in the world, these people who are spending billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to buy this stuff in the United States and all of the central banks, they know the playbook. They are the most well-informed people in the world. That's all you need to know. That when people at that level do this before the public catches on, that is the giveaway. The public never, ever, ever is in front because they don't have the information. The insiders are always positioned before the public catches on. So here we are at all-time highs in gold, and turn on the financial news and watch how many stories you hear about it. Zero. And that is why when the most well-informed and well-funded traders in the world continue to gobble it up, and the public has zero understanding of this, and the media has zero understanding of this, in an asset that has outperformed every single traditional asset since 1971, you tell me. And now it's accelerating, and it's accelerating here in this country. If official minted coins are recognized as legal tender, aren't they only accepted for the printed value of the coin and not the melt? That's a good question, and the answer is no. The bigger question is, why do they even have those stupid face value numbers on them? The American Eagle gold is a $50 face value on the 1 ounce. The silver is $1. But the laws say, so far, all the laws that I've seen in these states say that it is the melt value of the coin plus any market premium that would be used as its official value, not the imprinted price on it. But what that imprinted price means is that it is legal tender because it was minted with a face value on it by the U.S. Treasury. So
it's
good
handy when
question,
you're
but no,
bringing a
that's not
bunch
the
back
case.
from Canada, though.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. Now, I have been told that those laws have maybe been updated. I wouldn't try it again, but
No.
what Mark is referring to is me bringing 240 gold maple leafs back into the United States from Montreal, and spending almost 2 hours in the basement of the Montreal airport with Homeland Security, filling out what's called a what the hell's the name of that form? It was a long time ago, and it was the it starts with an F. It'll come to me. There was a form that I had to fill out that basically wanted to know everything, how I got here. It's financial and fin something. It was financial enforcement. FinCEN, the FinCEN form. You don't ever want to fill out a FinCEN form. Never, never, never. And they're like, fill it out. And I'm like, okay. And he took my coin, which was a $50 gold maple leaf. I had 240 of them. And I said, he said, how much is gold? At the time, it was only $1,200. And he did the math, and he's like, well, isn't that $300,000? I'm like, yeah, it is. But look at the face value. It's $50,000 or $50. So I'm declaring $12,000 because there's 240 times 50 is 12,000. And he comes back 35 minutes later and says, I'll be damned. You're right. It is the face value that matters for the purposes of crossing borders. And he says, let me see the FinCEN form. And I hand it to him. And he says, I almost forgot. How much money do you got on you? And I look in my wallet. I'm like, $37. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, are you positive? I'm like, look, man, I may have some change in my backpack, but that's it. He says, okay. And he tears up the form. He says, you're free to go. And I'm like, come on, dude. I've been here for 2 hours. What's the deal? He says, well, okay. You're entering the United States with $37 in your wallet and some change in your backpack. Is that correct? Yes, sir. That's correct. Well, he says, fortunately for you, the 240 gold maple leafs, which are $12,000 face value legal tender, today's conversion rate puts it at $9,700. You are under the legal reporting limit. You're free to go. So now I have been advised by a guy in my company here who wrote the article on my experience and cited the laws, the case law for US and Canada, that's not a good idea to do anymore without declaration, that they've changed it subsequently. So when you fly intrastate with gold, you can go anywhere inside the United States and have 50 million in gold on you. It'd be very heavy, but there is zero reporting requirements. When you leave the United States, zero reporting requirements. It is when you get into another country that they're going to ask you on the customs form, do you have more than $10,000 on you? This is where the rubber meets the road. So probably not a good idea to do what I did all of those times now, and better just to disclose that there's nothing illegal about it. You declare it at customs and you're off. But that was the case for a very, very long time.
Reading some interesting conversations. in here. All right, I'm going to bump up against a deadline for the day job, but I'm enjoying it, and I still have to sing some happy birthdays. So unless you two want to start singing,
Whose birthday?
No,
After
I
Andy?
think no, I'm not. No, you never
Happy
did sing me a birthday.
birthday to you. Happy
happy birthday.
birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy. Happy birthday to you.
You got a belated one from
Can I just tell you, Mark? I like her version.
Better than
I like
mine?
her singing. Yeah, much
Yeah,
better.
I don't blame you.
That was good. If you are up against a clock, and you know what I'm going to say to you too, right?
I know you need a friend, and I'm here
I
for
need
you.
a friend, Mark. Don't go, brother. Come on. All right. Well, we will save all of the things that I had to talk about until next week, which is fine because you know how I get. I just don't shut up. But we're all good, man. And it was nice to see you, Riss. And Mark, I love you like a brother. And thanks for having me. And I'll see you next week.
You know, they're
maybe even tonight. I'll try.
I was going to say, they're going to ask you if you can pop in for whiskey. And
I probably can. Let me look and see. I think I probably can tonight. I don't think I have.
Pop in with a guitar and play some for us.
You play the guitar?
Now,
my son is a rock star. He's really, really, really good.
Does he come on the stream and play the guitar?
I'll tell him to. He will. He's that good. All right. So, Mark, have a good day. Riz, have a good one. And let's do this again. Hopefully, I'll see you guys tonight.
No, that would be fantastic. I still have to talk Riz into joining us for Whiskey and Wisdom. I don't know if she already has Wednesday night plans or not.
What time is it?
8 Eastern, we do Whiskey and Wisdom. And we may talk about something important. We may talk about nothing. We may talk about cars or music, or you just don't know. Could be aliens and probing. Who knows?
I usually have a stream on mine at 8, but we could like coordinate it.
All right, we'll talk.
Figure it out. Yeah. All right. Bye.
Andy, thank you. Look forward to seeing you. Do we have you next week? Or are you traveling again?
I am here next week. I will see you then.
Absolutely awesome. Okay. Appreciate that, Andy.
See you, bro.
See you tonight.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. And to the rest of the folks, see you this evening at 7 for news and Whiskey and Wisdom at 8.